Hello, I'm Tse Yip Fai, an AI ethics researcher contracted with the University Center for Human Values at the Princeton University. I'm going to talk about AI, animals, and law. But first, a disclaimer. I don't have any background in law, except for the undergraduate course Introductory to Law I took 16 years ago. So please point out any mistakes I make. AI ethics is quickly becoming a very hot topic within academia. Common topics in AI ethics include algorithmic bias, inequality, existential risk to humans due to AI, and even the moral status or rights of machines or robots. But one category of sentient beings is virtually never mentioned within this field. And you would have guessed, I'm referring to the animals. Our research found that animals being impacted by the AI is not being discussed within the field of AI or AI ethics. Interestingly, the welfare of the so far merely hypothetical, conscious or sentient machines is mentioned far more often than that of the animals. And that we believe is not right. In our paper, AI Ethics, the case for including animals, we argue that if animals matter morally, and if AI impacts them, then AI ethics should care about them. Moreover, today, for this talk, I'm going to add that AI brings new challenges, opportunities, and philosophical questions to the field of animal law. And therefore that the field of animal law should care about AI's impact on animals. So let's talk about what kinds of impact AI might have on animals now and in the future. The first case study is generative AI. In the past 12 months or so, you have probably witnessed the power of generative AI growing very rapidly. And it relates to evidence of all kinds, including animal cruelty cases, because in the future, evidence of animal cruelty might be claimed to be AI generated. In some other cases not related to animals, people are already claiming that some evidence are actually deepfakes. And in the future, it might actually become possible to fake some evidence, complicating the issue. And even if the evidence will stand in the court, it will take longer to prove, increasing the cost of litigation. For these reasons, the charities doing animal cruelty investigations might become less powerful of a kind of intervention. On the other hand, AI might also create more evidence to prove animal cruelty cases. I assume that all AI systems connected to a camera or speaker, or both of them, are potentially an animal cruelty identifier. But of course, there are some issues with this potential technology. For example, false detection. Here, I attach a actual picture of a self-driving car, identifying mistakenly 3 horses as 3 dogs. And if this car is tasked with reporting animal cruelty cases, it might report to the police or animal charities that this is an animal cruelty case. But the police might not accept, and the court might not accept this as animal cruelty because they don't see riding on horses as animal cruelty. But if people are riding on dogs, it would be animal cruelty. So in this case, the police or the court's opinion is that the car made a mistake in reporting that this is an animal cruelty case. And what about privacy of the AI watching people looking out for animal cruelty? It might be a social problem that it could cause a widespread panic. Our second case study is the self-driving cars that we actually mentioned in the last slide. It would be a much bigger problem that the self-driving cars will hit animals more so than misreporting animal cruelty cases. To give you a sense of how many animals might be hit by future self-driving cars, in the United States, roughly 89 to 340 million birds are killed by cars driven by humans each year now, and that's only birds. So imagine the number of animals self-driving cars might hit when it substitutes all human drivers in the future. We have evidence to prove that self-driving car prototypes has the potential to hit or unable to avoid some animals. Because we found evidence that some self-driving cars do not identify most animals, except cats, dogs, and large animals. And we believe this might be related to the profit incentives. When you hit dogs and cats, it could hurt the self-driving car company's image. When the car hits a large animal, it can hurt the passengers in the car. But if it hits some other animals, it could be okay for the profit. So here is some actual evidence of self-driving car not identifying, in this case, a pigeon, and in this case, a squirrel, which both of them are not appearing on the screen. It's not just a problem of whether the self-driving car should be tasked with identifying the animal or try to swerve when they see it. It might also be a problem whether they should drive or they should choose a particular role in certain cases. In this case, I challenge you to think what a self-driving car should do in such a role full of frogs, especially if the owner of the self-driving car insists that the car drive on this road. What should the self-driving car be programmed to do? That's a homework for you to think about. Here, I would like to point out that the issue is not only species conservation, but the animals as individuals matter too. The self-driving cars could be causing suffering to the animals because they might not be killed immediately. And the offspring of the animals killed might starve to death, causing extra suffering. To summarize, the ethical issues with self-driving cars regarding animals include potentially causing suffering or maybe avoiding suffering depending on how they behave. The better capabilities of self-driving cars in comparison to human drivers in avoiding and detecting the animals mean that they have less excuse and more responsibility to avoid the animals. And of course, you have environmental ethics issues. Similarly, better capabilities of self-driving cars might mean the suffering caused by the self-driving cars might be more unnecessary. When should regulators approve self-driving cars? I suggest that maybe not before the self-driving car companies start caring about animals. And of course, you have environmental laws issues too. There's one more issue with self-driving cars. In the future, animals might be transported by self-driving trucks, and this might affect some laws. In South Australia, it is said that a driver of a vehicle used to transport a cow must take reasonable measures to ensure that the cow, or actually some other animals, is protected from certain harm. But what if this driver becomes the AI self-driving truck itself? I assume that in this case the law has to be amended. Our next case study is AI in factory farming. AI is now rapidly entering the factory farming industry in the raising of pigs, cows, chickens, fish, shrimps, or even insects, meaning AI in factory farming will affect billions of sentient beings in the future. The kinds of AI used in factory farming include using AI to identify animals, to model their growth rate, very importantly, to predict and detect the diseases of animals, to optimize the feed of the animals, to do genetic selection. Or AI can actually be connected to robotics and actually handle the animals directly. Some of you might be thinking there might be short-term benefits in introducing AI in factory farming, and we recognize that it might be possible that is the case, because AI can detect diseases and injuries early, meaning the animal will suffer for less time before they are treated. It might mean better health for the animals, and it will very likely mean no human cruelty in the case where humans are substituted by the AI. But we also worry about the long-term consequences too. We worry that better disease control enabled by the AI mean that the factory farms will be able to increase stocking density, as it happened before with veterinary drugs. And this increased stocking density means that the animals might experience more stress, causing more suffering. Also, a high stocking density means that in the same area, more animals can be kept. This combined with the effect of AI decreasing the cost of factory farming and raising the demand for animal products because of course the price is dropping, mean that more animals might be farmed in the future, and there's way more suffering in the future. And we worry that this long-term consequence dominate the short-term benefits. On the bright side, AI can also be used to tackle factory farming. For example, it can be used in the research of plant-based meat alternatives or plant-based egg and dairy alternatives, or maybe in the research of cultivated meat also. AI in factory farming might also affect laws. In the United Kingdom, a person commits an offense if he does not take steps as are reasonable to ensure that the needs of an animal for which he is responsible are met. But what if the person becomes an AI? There might be issues because AI is not yet granted personhood. What about this law? In England and Wales, a person might be committing an animal cruelty offense if he or she, as the caretaker or owner of the animal, permits another person carrying out a prohibited procedure on the animal. But what if that another person becomes an AI or a robot? Do such legal liability still arise? It doesn't look so clear. A few more interesting questions. Who will even be the person responsible for the animal in a factory farm that is controlled entirely by AI? Or who is even the handler in the legal sense? Our next case study is going to be more futuristic, but I believe it carries some important and interesting implications to animal law. Some AI scientists believe that we might be able to decipher animal languages using AI in the future, at least for some animals. These scientists set up a few existing projects working toward this goal. In a sense, they're trying to create AI animal translators, or animal GPT, which in the future might allow humans and animals to communicate through the technology. But if we do succeed in such technological developments, there might be ethical issues, such as humans being more interested in manipulating the animal's behaviors than understanding the animals. We might not even be interested in what we are actually saying, but we might actually be more interested in just saying something that get the animal to do certain things we would like, such as using the technology to convince or train the animal in certain military tasks. And what if we're in a world where animals can complain directly to us or make certain claims directly to us? For example, what if a laying hen in a factory farm says to you, "I want to leave this place"? Or what if a whale says to the fisher people, "Your fishing boat is noisy and disturbing"? If animals can do these through technologies, it will likely drastically change the way we think about ethics, the ethics of the treatment of animals, and maybe also the laws regarding the treatment of animals. Animal GPT might imply a potential legal revolution. For example, some animals might gain the ability to give assent, dissent, or consent through this technology. And for these animals, we might no longer be justified to deny certain rights for the reason that they are unable to give assent, dissent, or consent. It might look like an active choice of dismissing or denying such rights. What about a world where AI technologies allow some animals to advocate for their own legal rights? Could it mean stronger reasons for legal reforms for these animals? Or could it mean stronger incentives or pushbacks from some humans to actively deny or shut down the voices of these animals? Could we have some animals, through the use of AI technologies, testifying in courts for themselves, maybe as plaintiffs, or maybe as experts, such as experts on what it is like to be a bat that is ill-treated by humans? Could the fact that some animals, through the use of animal GPT, understanding the law, mean that they would be required by humans to abide by these laws? Could the fact that some animals might understand some laws or legal concepts imply that some laws will in the future be written for them and be enforced on them? I believe through these case studies, even if you are not convinced by the last, maybe more futuristic case study in animal GPT or AI animal translators, I believe through the case studies of self-driving cars, AI in factory farm, and generative AI, I've convinced you that AI impacts animals. We also argue that AI brings new challenges, opportunities, and philosophical questions to animal law. We believe that AI ethics and AI-related law should care about animals. And more specifically for this audience, we argue that animal law should care about AI's impact. And it should be now. With that, I thank you for your attention and I look forward to your questions.